The sun's coming up.
Hello and welcome to the Cosm Podcast. I'm your host, Tyler James Berger. On this episode, I talk with visionary artist Amanda Sage. Amanda travels the world teaching workshops and giving lectures and using her art as a tool for global and spiritual growth and transformation. This conversation is the fourth and final interview that I conducted for our Bicycle Day event, celebrating the life and legacy of Albert Hofmann. In it, I talked to Amanda about the mystical experience and how it has inspired her path as an artist. We also talk about other broader subjects, like the role of the artist in imagining new futures, as well as how to stay open and receptive to creative inspiration. So, without any further ado, please welcome Amanda Sage. All right, I'm here with Amanda Sage. Amanda, thank you so much for coming on to the Cosm Podcast. How are you doing?
I'm doing pretty good, all things considered.
Yeah. Well, I'm excited to talk with you today. We're talking on the occasion that April 19th is a high holiday known as Bicycle Day, which is a celebration of Albert Hofmann's discovery of LSD. Now, you are a mystic visionary artist and one who has been deeply inspired by the kinds of experiences that substances like LSD can induce. And I wanted to ask you, what are your thoughts on the psychedelic experience and how has it personally inspired your path as an artist?
That's a lot.
It's a big question, right?
Right. That whole realm of questing, of questing. I mean, that's what I feel like it is. You know, it's something that is that I guess mirrors back to us the absolute majesty of the reality that we're in, and we forget so often, you know, like it's such a mystery. It's such a miracle what this existence is when we look deeper into it. And I think that it's only visible to us when we really take the time to look, and sometimes we have to strip down the conditioning, you know, the conditioning of all of survival, of being a human in this realm with an identity and with responsibilities and all of that. The psychedelic experience is something that takes us beyond the mundane, takes us through it and into it, where we see the mystery, we see the infinite in everything. It becomes visible to us. And then not just visible, you can feel it through every aspect, every detail of your being. And I feel like we all have this access. I mean, we dream, even if we don't remember our dreams at night. You know, we go into these lucid states that, you know, sometimes through a sickness or through deep grief or great joy, there's sometimes the veil thins. And the psychedelic experience, that realm is even, you know, it really exposes itself through certain substances. And humankind has been obsessed with this since the beginning of time, obsessed with either exploring it or trying to hide it, right? Because, yeah, I mean, are people that really see the great mystery, are they as easy to control? You know, I think that might be a big part of it. But we're at a time where, you know, in the past 50 years plus, and I haven't been around that long, but the research and the opening of that mystery and that history, the psychedelic history, has become something that more people have had access to. And so in relation to art and how it's affected my work, and I didn't really have a concept of what it would offer to me, or it wasn't until I was around 27 when I first had my really deep psychedelic experience. And by that point I had studied painting. I had studied classical painting in Vienna, Austria, with this amazing artist, Michael Fuchs, and had gone on to work as an assistant for Ernst Fuchs, who is his father, and a very famous and one of the godfathers of visionary art, as Alex Gray will point out. And he was a great mystic, and he was a psychedelic artist, although I didn't really know that so much at the time. His son wasn't as interested in those realms. But it wasn't until, so it was some years in of being an assistant, and I felt the pull. I didn't have that many people in my circle, though, of influence and friends that were investigating those realms. And so I made a prayer. I felt like it was the time. And so it was a very beautiful experience, my first experience, with wonderful guides and support, which is so important. The setting, to be ready for it, and to be open, because what is it going to show you? Oh, we don't know. But if you go into it with an open heart and with a real curiosity, and to ask for the gift to be revealed, what I saw was something that I knew and had seen when I was a kid, but I had forgotten. And it was kind of like I saw the energetic fields. I saw the electricity between the stars, in the great cosmos. I heard a small, tiny little bug fall from one little leaf to another, and I heard its wings hit the petal of the leaf, and I was amazed at how this was revealed to me. And so through that, knowing that, you're kind of like, okay, an experience like that, how do you paint it? Good question, but it was really a feeling and something that evoked a kind of bravery, maybe. Like I felt more brave to also trust the unknown, And that's something that came to me through really watching Ernst Fuchs paint, and to watch him not know what was going to happen next. Like I knew that he didn't know, and he wasn't afraid, and he was so curious. He would just keep going and keep going. And so remembering that, all those hours of watching him paint and, listening to his influences, I realized how much of it, was connected to this space that was available to us all, but we had to open ourselves to it. You have to invite it. And so as an artist, it's an opportunity that you have all the time. Every time you approach your work, you have an opportunity to become a channel in some way. And it's up to you, though, to make space for it and to invite it. And so what are you inviting? You just invite anything? Or do you have what's your prayer? And so I think that is at the core of any artist's work. There's some kind of prayer there. There's an intention, but what is it? And so this is the thing, good, bad, whatever it is, what's the primary interest? What rabbit hole do you want to go down? And let it be revealed. So to me, art is a psychedelic experience.
Mm-hmm.
Actual artine, making the art and viewing it.
Yeah, I mean, both taking LSD and making art in the way that Ernst Fuchs did, it's a way of having a relationship with the unknown, a relationship with mystery. And that's kind of what psychedelics are just so good at giving us. And it's from having a personal relationship with mystery that we can draw our own interpretations about the nature of reality, perhaps. And how do you think global consciousness would change if more people had the kind of access to mystery, the great mystery that substances like LSD give us?
I think we would have a lot more compassion for each other and for the earth and the animals. I think we would have a much more respect for what it takes to be a living being, and respect for ourselves. I think there's an unconsciousness that is very rampant in these ideals of who we think we need to be, or where we need to be. And there's something that is revealed through the psychedelic experience that shows it. I guess it reveals a preciousness of life, and I think if more people could experience this in the right circumstances, and really safe and with good guides, I think there would be so much more love. That's for sure. There would be a lot more love and understanding, because there's so much that people hold on to that is just so not necessary, and it makes us sick. And that's a lot can be worked through in those realms, because it gives you a chance to step outside of yourself, to be one with the universe. And that's, wow, like do we have that when we come in, when we're born, and then when we leave? There's all these wonderful, near-death experiences that people have had that explain something similar. But this is what the psychedelic experience can give us, and so can very, very deep practices of meditation, fasting. There's many different ways to alter your consciousness. It doesn't have to just be through the ingesting of a substance, but it sure is a fast track. And why not take that fast track? What's wrong with that? I think it's something, what people are afraid of is addiction, but that's a much bigger subject. People are also afraid of not coming back, but there's a part of the psychedelic experience that is, you have to die unto yourself to be reborn. And what does that mean? That means you die to the personality. The personality dies for a moment so that you can see the bigger picture of what you are a part of. And then you can become a more conscious creator within life, because you're not as possessed by the identity and by the roles and things of daily life. I mean, that of course that happens. It's part of every day. But and then every day can become almost a psychedelic journey, as you realize that you really don't know what's going to happen next. But we're always trying to predict it. Right?
Yeah, I mean, I've heard this idea of the little death, and that we're kind of always having these little deaths in our experience. Even like the psychedelic experience gives you a little death, that kind of a death of yourself that allows you to kind of, like you said, see the bigger picture. So maybe, the question of how it could change global consciousness, I think the answer is that it brings us to global consciousness. It brings us to this unified mind that I think could bring so much healing to the world, like you say. Now, I want to kind of turn the conversation a little bit to more specifically the role of the artist in society, especially in a time like now when we are living with so much uncertainty and without a clear vision into the future. Terence McKenna said that if the artist cannot find the way, then the way cannot be found. And my question for you is, how can we, even if we are not visual artists, embody the archetype of the artist and create our way through this difficult time?
That's a great quote and a great question for now. This is something that I've been thinking a lot about and feeling very, very excited about, really, this opportunity for creativity to be given the spotlight in some way, that being maybe the antidote in some ways, to the fear. And, I believe that all of us are artists. We are all creative beings. And we all have different ways of expressing that creativity. And some of us have practiced certain methods to allow that creativity to flow. It's something, though, that we need to give time to. We need to, listen. We need to listen. And we need tools. So for those of us, for people that feel that they aren't so creative, or an artist, they don't call themselves an artist. And I think that's maybe part of the catch. That the artist is also an identity that looks like this, and does this. And, oh, I'm not an artist. There's maybe your first catch of the conditioning that needs to be wiped out. Because the truth is we are always making decisions. And artists are making decisions, of course, that are very visible, and they're very overt and free in many ways. But we often don't feel so free, maybe in other movement and ways that we express ourselves. But this is, I think it's a renaissance, it's a revolution. It's a realignment with a kind of core essence of what it is to be a human being, and that is to be creative, in our decision making. And so, thinking about not just can I do something, why am I and what, what do I want to create? What do I want to create? What kind of a life do I want to live? What do I value? Who do I want to be? This is a time to dream that more than ever before, to write it out, to draw it out, to explore your voice, and however it comes out, and reimagine, because when something comes to an end, and we're experiencing that in many different facets, and it's hard to believe, and it's hard to also predict what the ripples of this is going to create. What is the effect going to be of this moment in time? I really, really like to think of the mycelial web of the visionary artistic family that is woven all over this world, and that I have had the pleasure to meet thousands of these people, these beautiful human beings that are all over the world and have been already doing this work of dropping the veil, of looking beyond and to looking into the future. And how do we really want to live? What do we want to leave for the generations to come? What kind of a foundation? And there are people that are doing this already. So, and for those that are, maybe just having the veil lifted for them at this time, it's the responsibility of those that have already been working towards these towards these visions, their own visions, but thinking of the collective. It's the responsibility of that group to come out and to invite others and to share the knowledge and to share the imagery, the work, the poetry, and for everybody to be inspired.
Yeah, I think it's such an essential point that we are all artists. We are all creating our story, and more particularly, we are constantly creating the future that we're living into. You know, we're giving birth to new potentials. And, you know, something I see in a lot of your paintings is the egg shape, you know, and I kind of take that, I take that to mean, in your work, especially, you're kind of giving birth to new visions of the future. You're kind of mapping out the things that could be, the kind of order that we can make out of the chaos that we're currently swimming in. Which I think is such a valuable role. And it's a role that we can all play. And no matter what creative medium you're doing it through, it's a way of making a map of the future that you want to live into.
Yeah, I definitely agree. That's basically what's going on here. You know, the seed, the symbol of the seed, of the egg, of this vessel that holds the spark of life or the beginning of life. You know, it's pure potential. And so within that, what do you want to put? What do you know? And so every time I approach the canvas, I feel into that. What is really worthy of my exploration of and of my time, and of, you know, what kind of gift can I give? What kind of you know, because giving away your gold, you know, that's what we're doing when we paint. You know, it's our precious time and it's our focus, and it's it's a record of you doing your best. And even if it's something that you look at later and you're like, oh, that didn't work out, or that's, you know, it's still something that you're showing up for. You know, and I think that, you know, the artist has been so separated in many ways from the everyday. You know, the artist is some kind of special kooky character over there, you know, but there's the artist in all of us, the artist and what can come through when we're not so concerned with what is going to happen later. Because that's usually where we get stuck. We have an image we may have an image that we think the way things ought to be or should be. And when it doesn't work out in exactly that way, we can get disappointed and derailed. But that's somehow like a metaphor in life, you know, like we don't really know what's next. We can approximately point ourselves in a direction, but all kinds of things are going to happen along the way that you don't know, and what's going to really, you know, where it's going to take you and how it's going to aid you. And the same is in a painting. I feel that so many different things come in to support that becoming, you know, and where do they come from? Who are they? What is the, you know, the purpose? I mean, the purpose is to create something that has never been seen before in some way. That is a portal into another realm and has a message to bring. That's what I'm interested in with the portals, because that's what they are, you know, and that message can be different for so many people. I had with paintings, and messages coming through, you know.
Yeah, I mean, this idea of things coming through you. A lot of artists say that they feel like things are coming through them and not from them. And I think it's important to kind of keep your channels open, so to speak, because many people have this intuition of this force that you could call divine cosmic creativity that kind of speaks through you and tries to influence the material world through creative inspiration. And this divine force that the artist makes contact with, it wants to help. That's why it's important to keep your channels open, get out of your own way, and to allow this force to kind of create art through you, because whatever you create while in that state is inevitably going to be medicine. That you're bringing something back from this state, from this force that wants to provide solutions for the collective good of humanity. Now, to point that into a question, when you step up to a canvas, how do you keep your channels open to that force and kind of get out of your own way?
That's a good question. It takes a lot of tricks, because the resistance of there's a big resistance often that wants to distract you from doing something really important. I don't know if you've ever read The
War of Art?
Yes.
Yes. Oh, I have.
And that just speaks to it so much. This, what does it take to be able to get into that space where you can become this fluid channel? And I find that sometimes live painting actually helps in many ways. That can be very, very interesting. Painting with an audience, and also live music, that can be absolutely beautiful. I like listening to live radio sometimes also, knowing that there's all these other people live right now. There's something about that really interests me. Also incredible, just a great mix that is, a DJ that's really created a whole soundscape. Also, I usually will have tea, I'll have water, I'll have sometimes a glass of wine.
The simple things.
Oh, a little microdose can help.
There you go.
Go for a run, do some yoga. But setting yourself up, and really being like, this is what I'm going to do now. You have to commit to it. You have to commit time to it. It's not going to just happen. And we all struggle with it. No matter how many thousands of hours I've put into painting, there's so many distractions that I embrace. I see all as a part of the journey. To me, it's the big story that I'm interested in. I'm interested in the symphony that we can all create together. I'm interested in the work that, my work can inspire, and that has inspired my work. And it's a grand story. And so this is one of the reasons why I love to teach. And I'm very also interested in community and the great collective awakening that's happening through I guess it's a culture, it's a way of life, and it's a way of celebrating life. It doesn't mean that you have to look a certain way or you have to, do a specific thing. There's a commonality in wanting to be connected and to understand that we're connected, that everything's connected. And to rope back in psychedelics, this is one of those great teachings that psychedelics brings us, is that, there's no question. We are connected beyond these realms,
Yeah, well, thank you for kind of venturing into those realms and bringing back visual medicine that we can all kind of look at and get inspired from and heal from. So, Amanda, thank you so much for joining me today and having this conversation. It's been really great. How can people follow along with what you have going on. Do you have any cool online events going on in the future? Anything that you'd like to tell our audience about?
Well, we do have something exciting that just opened up about 3 weeks ago. It's called the Nonstop Vision Train Global Art Jam, and this has started out of a circle of friends and artists that have studied with me, and it has expanded to the greater visionary kind of family. And it's a Facebook group you can find, the Nonstop Vision Train Global Art Jam. And through there, you can get into our 24/7 studio, collective studio that has been open for 3 weeks indefinitely. Rather, so many things are closing indefinitely. We thought it would be fun to open something indefinitely. And out of that, we're going to be start doing live broadcasts and inviting in artists, talking about art, making art with music, and inviting as many people as possible to join us in this. And I'm also going to start teaching online workshops. I'm doing more and more live broadcasting. This is the time to be dropping in this medium and connecting in a way that we've never connected this deeply before. As we're isolated, we're also so connected. And it's amazing that we have this opportunity. And I thank the mushrooms, all the mycelium, because I feel like that is at the root in so many ways of everything. And if you see the movie Fantastic Fungi, you'll be like, oh, really? I mean, that's the internet as well too. So you can't help but think, well, they got something. We got to trust something there. And
I think I think you're doing a lot of cool work creating a mycelial network of artists that are changing the world. And thank you so much for connecting to the Cosm community. I think that's a good place to wrap up. Amanda Sage, thank you so much.
Thanks, Tyler. And this train, see that train coming down the wave back there?
Wow. Yep. That's the Vision Train. It's
a work in progress, but it's really, it's the thing to get on board with. And I'd say a bunch of us already are on board, and we just got to, pack our bags and bring our good friends too. And, we've got an amazing road ahead of us. And it's an awesome opportunity right now just to drop into that creativity and breathe.
Thank you again for listening to the Cosm Podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to hit that like button, subscribe, and tell us in the comments who else you'd like to see featured on the podcast. Make sure to follow Chapel of Sacred Mirrors on Instagram and Facebook to stay up to date on any future podcasts or virtual events. And thank you to everyone who has donated during this time. Every donation is a stand for the future of Cosm and helps us to continue to bring inspiring and uplifting offerings to the community. You can make a donation by going to buildandbeyond.com. To learn more about Amanda Sage and the Vision Train, be sure to follow her on Instagram and Facebook, or by going to her website, amandasage.com.